What is up, guys? Hey, JD and Opa Dodge. I see you are both here. So, this is just kind of one of those at a whim type things. I'm bored and I didn't really feel like working on the layout today, and I'm kind of behind on some of my customer locomotive installs. So, uh, very possible. I don't think there's really much difference between the Dash 9 and the AC 4400. It's a very similar locomotive as far as the shell goes. Um, but I've got it here right beside me, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And like I said, this is not my locomotive. This is actually a customer's of mine. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So, and I've got my phone set to the side so that way I can somewhat keep track of the chat. So let's see how this works. Hopefully my stuff did not freeze up because it looks like it just did. Oh, that's not good. Of course, as soon as you go live, everything wants to start acting funny. There we go. All right. So hopefully it won't freeze up again. Looks like we got Dan's model railroading journey here as well. So welcome, Dan. All right. So this is the locomotive. This is just a basic Athearn ready to roll. This is I've already taken the couplers off because I wanted to look at the inside before I get started. But I mean, this is the basic box that it's that DCC quick plug equipped. Now it does have a Digitrax decoder in there, but he wants sound, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you everything we need. First thing, in order to make this happen, we need a soldering iron. So this is going to be the one I'm going to use. I've already got it heated up. I've got a wet paper towel to go ahead and clean the tip as I'm working on it. Hey, Ethan Armitage, and we got Marty, M&M Short Lines Railroad, and Awesome America Model Railroading. Artie's here. So welcome, guys. So yeah, soldering iron, you definitely need it. To go with the soldering iron, I use this. This is the flux I use. I don't know if it's going to show up pretty well. It's kind of blurry, but it's a Alpha OM 338, and that was a flux that was recommended to me by George at Soundtraxx a while back. And then, of course, I have some solder here as well. And this is lead-free silver-bearing rosin core solder. So I've used this for, I don't know how long, but several years. Other good things to have as far as tools go is you never know if you need electrical tape. So electrical tape, I've got some communication wire because I'm going to need that for the speakers. We've got heat shrink tubing. That will always come in handy. Pair of tweezers. Actually stole these from my wife a while back. It's actually got these little gems on here, and it's like a really good grip. So I use these like crazy. Pair of scissors. Now these are actual electrical scissors. And with that communication wire, I can actually strip with these, strip the wires with those notches up there. So those are great. Since I am using some of the heat shrink tubing, I'm going to show you how to route your wires to where when you try to put the shell back on, it's not as much of a cluster. And to use that, we need, here we go. Gorilla super glue. You can use any type of super glue you want to. So, but super glue in general. The decoder that we're installing is a Tsunami2 PMP board, And the speakers that he wants is he actually wanted 2 of the Soundtraxx mini cubes. It's similar to a sugar cube. So, hey, Almar, welcome. And we got the Foltz Bailey Model Railroad. Man, that's a new name. I don't recognize that one. Dang, I was expecting Rick the Tree. Hey, Rick, how's it going, bud? So, well, good steel. You will need those for yourself someday. They're coming to age when eyebrows send out random monsters. I heard that. I take it, Anthony, you're talking about the tweezers. So, hey, Lynn McCurdy's here as well. And Lynn, we are just getting started. Oh, you changed your name as well. Lynn McCurdy and the HDMMRC. So now you got to tell us what HDMMRC stands for. I know it's something Model Rail Club, I'm assuming. So Roy Eltham's here. So welcome, Roy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So the nice thing about these old things like what Athearn packaged these in, they make a great cradle. So you just take the top, flip it over. Now, like I said, I've already taken the shell apart just to inspect the inside. So the couplers and the screws that hold the shell in place have already been taken off. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that step. So basically, I'm just going to take the shell off and flip it over like so. So now you can see that we have the old PCB board here with the 9-pin and 8-pin connectors. And like I said, this is DCC, but he wants sound. So we're going to replace this whole thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is start disassembling all the wires. And I'm going to try to do this without having to move things. Now, these little plastic caps right here that comes off of that PCB board, I am not going to use those on the new install. I prefer soldered connections. So, Lucian Woody Fishing. Yes, buddy, this is your locomotive that I am working on. So, welcome, Lucian. I thought I'd go ahead and get yours out of the way. So, all right, so we got that side disconnected. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the other side. And sometimes the tweezers help with getting those, I don't know what you would call those things, but whatever they are, help get them off the board. It kind of helps. Yeah, let's see if we can get the next one off. All right, so now I've got all the wires disconnected, and this is one of those boards on the older Athearn. My SD45T-2 actually did this, where it clips on to that motor lead. So what we're going to have to do there is we're actually going to have to solder a wire and then isolate it with the tape. So this board is no good. All right. So in order to get a good solder connection, I'm just going to kind of scratch. There we go. Kind of scratch this a little bit. So that way I can get the solder to actually take hold to it. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of communication wire. I don't need a whole bunch, but, you know, something short like that is fine. All right. And I got both ends stripped. I don't know if y'all can, how well y'all can see that. Maybe if I put it in my hands. But I got both ends stripped. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flux. And we're going to dump some flux right on that spot where I scratched. Dump a little bit more. Flux is like a solder magnet. And I'm also going to put some flux on the end of this wire too. That's funny, Martin. Yep, if I screw it up, Lucian, you'll see it happen in action. All right, so I'm going to see if I can slide those back a little bit so that way y'all can see how I plan on getting a little bit of solder on my iron. I don't know if y'all can see the tip of it's right there. I'm just going to gently get some of it and tin the end of it into my wire. Get a little bit more solder and put it on top of that copper strip for the top of the motor. And I just dropped my wire. Yeah, I don't have a small tip, and I've been doing this a long time. I've used this iron, I don't know for how long, Rory. Hey, Tim, CP368 Productions, welcome, buddy. And Dwight Curley's here, too. All right, so now I'm just going to take that wire and lay it on top of the solder. And see if I can... Voila, just like so. Now, we were talking about the tape earlier. We are going to have to use tape to do two things. The first thing being is the tape is going to isolate this from the rest of the board. So I'm going to fold my wire over like that. I'm going to kind of measure out to see how long I need my tape to be. Use the scissors and cut it to size. And then we'll just take the tape and kind of fold it over. That way, when we set our board on top, we don't have to worry about creating a short. And then just to be safe with the wire to keep it in place, I'm going to take another piece of tape and go the opposite direction along the side of the motor shield. Now our top is fully isolated and we have our positive and our negative connections. Now on the clip, it shows that the clip is, it doesn't say if it's positive or negative. So that doesn't help. So worst case, if once I get it on a programming track, if I put it in forward motion, then and if it goes in reverse, then I'll have to take those two motor wires and go backwards with them, unsolder them, and resolder. All right, so now I'm going to take the decoder out. And I will tell you, like, when Soundtraxx came out with the Tsunami2 decoders, man, they make things easy, you know, when you're trying to figure out which decoder to get. Because now it's like this one here. Well, let me hold it the right way. Maybe you can see it. This model is for all GE, and it looks like my camera doesn't want to focus. And I don't know why. But this one's for all GEs. The part number for this one's 885014 if anyone's interested. Are electric diesels meant to smoke? So, Artie, that is a good question. A diesel electric locomotive, yes, they do smoke because they do have diesel exhaust. And GEs, Dash 9s, and AC 4400s were very common to catch on fire. I think especially the AC 4400s. That's when they got nicknamed the Toasters. So, Al, I have tried the liquid tape method, and I'm not really a fan of it. This actually works the best, in my opinion. Because, see, I'm going to set this board on here, and after I get these wires soldered onto it, then I'm also going to be taping that board on top of the existing tape. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and you probably can't see this on camera, but if you're using LEDs, there is an oval contact here on this end, another oval contact there on that end. On the oval contacts, you would put in a 1,000 ohm resistor, and you can wire your LEDs to that as the common. However, on these Athearns that's using what I call these grain incandescent bulbs, they're very, very small. Soundtraxx put a 1.5 volt contact right here on the very end, and that's where you would actually put all of the LED commons on that. So we'll still put the forward headlight on this side, the backup headlight on that side, but all of our commons has got to go to that 1.5. And just to make sure that we got it the right way, it is labeled underneath. So it's actually going to go this way. So that's perfect. All right. So as far as these wires, I am going to go ahead and put some flux on those and get those tinned. Because it seems like when you tin your wire, it just makes the solder want to work better. All right, so I am assuming that this wire that I put in is going to be the positive lead. So I am going to go ahead and put that in as our positive. And as I do that, I'm going to put some flux on it. Get some soldered on the soldering iron. And voila. The nice thing about communication wire is it's really sturdy. It's got some strength to it. So now it's kind of acting like a pair of helping hands. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do, let's see here. I'm just trying to help keep up with the chat. Tim, I actually got a picture of where a UP locomotive did catch on fire. Like most of the word Union Pacific has been melted off. And pretty much all you see is a silver metal in the background. This one, ironically, I did some research on it. This one is locomotive 9571. This is actually an ex-Southern Pacific unit. I don't remember what locomotive number I told Lucian that it was, but this is an XSP. We were talking about the ditch lights on the front. Now, this is something Athearn did get wrong, is they put ditch lights, but they're like right above the plow. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's these two little silver knobs. They're actually supposed to be on top of the walkway. So I don't know. And I mean, of course, this is an older model. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyways, so yeah, that's when they were known as the toasters. All right, so now I'm going to stick this other motor mount here, or motor wire. That's going to be my negative. And I'm going to use that to kind of hold it in place. We'll get some flux on it. Because solder likes flux. All right. Make sure I got some soldering on my iron. And try not to burn myself in the process. And there we go. And what I'm trying to do is take my yellow wire and tuck it in. There we go. Let's see here. I want to take these and I want to tuck them underneath. So that way when I go to put the shell back on, they're out of the way. All right, so there we have those. So already as far as the ditch slots go, if they are pre-wired, I do not have a problem doing those installations. And Lynn, yeah, man, I have burnt myself many times. Nothing new there. So, all right. So the next thing that I'm going to have to do, and it's going to be a little difficult for me to do on camera, and that is to determine which wires go to which lights. And so I'm going to have to pull that off camera real quick, guys. I apologize on that, but I have to make sure that I get this right, because if I don't, then I'm going to be in a heap of trouble trying to figure out what goes to what. And probably what I should have done was, as I was pulling those things off, I should have probably tied a knot in one of the pairs, but I failed to do that. And they might already be separated. Let me see here. All right. I think these are going to be a pair. All right. So what I should have done was I should have went and took a pair of them and then just simply put a knot in like that. So that way I knew that was one side. Now I got to do this side here. And of course they put tape over it, but it looks like there is a spot where it's split. Oh, those are twisted together, so that's perfect. So these are still twisted together, so that helps. But my other one, the backlights were not twisted together, so which made that kind of difficult. And on these incandescents, I don't think it matters as to which ones are the positive and which ones are the negatives. Because the current goes through, it heats up that coil, and then from there, it just, that's what illuminates it. It's that coil. I just want to double check on those LEDs or incandescent bulbs. Okay, so I think I'm good as far as my lighting goes. So one of the things that we can do is we can actually take some of this shrink tubing, and we don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to cut a small piece off of it. Lynn, I take it you learned not to solder barefooted anymore, I would assume. All right. And so then with the super glue, I will take a dab of that, and we're going to glue a couple of these things in here, and that's what's going to hold our wires in place a little better. It just makes things so much simpler when you do it that way. And this is another reason why I use tweezers. And so that way I can get it set in there without gluing my hand in the process. But I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but there is a little tube in that upper corner, kind of right under that knot. There we go. So y'all could probably see that tube in there. And what I'm going to do is actually route a couple of wires through that tube. And then I'm going to put a tube on the other side and do the same. And that's just going to help contain our wires a little bit. So if anyone is wondering, George from Soundtraxx is the one who taught me to do that. Hey, we got Mystic John in here. Welcome, Mystic. All right, so now I got to move those out of the way. And that one wants to keep rolling over. And that's because it's bent. Now just imagine trying to do this as in scale. You know, my fingers barely fit in this shell. There's no way I could do that as in scale. All right. It's not the prettiest because my tube's a little bent, but there it is. It ain't going nowhere. So I'm going to wait and let that dry, and then I will reroute these wires in there. I'm going to use a little bit of light just to make sure I got the right ones, and I think I do. It appears that way. So sometimes having a good flashlight always helps too. All right. And of course, we're going to do it for the other side. I probably won't make these as long. I'll probably make them just a tad bit shorter. I know, Artie. Yeah, the end for 9mm. Too small for me. And why my son wanted to go in scale, I don't know. And for y'all out here who can do it, man, more power to you. All right. put man, that one went on easy. All right, so the next one, Miss Freak was saying hi to me. I guess she didn't know I was live. Maybe she's just let me know she got home. But so now I'm fixing to put this last one in. And I think once I get done with that, I will be done with the super glue. Oh man, that one went in good too. How about that? All right, so let's see if y'all can see those. There we go. We got one there and one there. And like I said, that's going to help keep our wires contained and out of the way. I'll use one side for the positive, one side for the negative. All right, so now while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and try to get soldered up these ends because I need that super glue to dry for a little bit. Because when I push the wires through with the tweezers, I'm probably going to have to take it off of camera. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and set the shell off to the side. So we can work on that. All right, so let's get a little flux. And I'm just going to poke my wires in my flux tube. Get some flux on all of them. I don't think that first one got good flux. There we go. Take our solder and soldering iron and try not to get smoked out in the process. I don't know if you are catching the smoke on camera or not. But some odd reason, man, flux will put out some smoke. So Mystic is saying that my son is enlightened because he likes N-scale. Santa hangs out with the worst kind of women. That's funny. And JD is right. H-O-H-O-H-O. Santa says it all the time. You know, Santa's the one who invented HO scale. I mean, that's where he started with toy trains. Because as soon as he built his first locomotive, it's like, ho, 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 ho. And that's where it got its name. Now, I probably cannot do that laugh as good as Rick Bailey can. Rick did it pretty well. Now, one thing about when you're doing these installations, you do not rush what you're doing. Always take your time. Because when you rush things, that's when you tend to mess things up. All right, so these I'm actually going to poke under as well. And then I'm going to bend them. Get some good flux on both of them. And another thing you can do is if your wires extend too far, you can always take those electrical scissors and snip the end of them off because they're no longer going to be needed. So I'm not a fan with how much wire they, I don't know. I don't really know what the word I'm thinking of. It's like there's no shield around the drive shaft and the flywheels. So it's kind of like I got to be careful. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the locomotive. I'm just going to spin it around. So that way I'm not having to go across the board. But I am going to do the same step that I just did above. So John, this locomotive was DCC only, and it did have the 9-pin connector. It also had the 8-pin as well. But we just went ahead and took this board off. That's just and put in a new board. And this one actually has 6 lighting functions on it, so it's not one of the newer ones. Soundtraxx is actually in the process of phasing out all their 6 lighting function decoders and going to the 8 lighting function decoders. So I know they're selling those a little cheaper, the 6 ones. So if that's something that you're looking at wanting to do, you might want to try to jump on it quick. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with an 8. Which, I mean, is not bad, you know, unless you don't care about all the lighting. All right. There we go. And as before, I'm going to snip those wire ends so I ain't got to fool with them. And those are out of my hair. All right. So theoretically, I should be able to put this on the track and see if it moves forward or moves backwards. And I probably should try to do that real quick just to make sure that it moves in the right direction. So I'm going to do that off camera real quick. It's just a good test that I like to do. And that lets me know if I'm going in the forward direction or the reverse direction with this locomotive. Now before we had her spin around, so I need to make sure that I got it on the same way. So our locomotive was in that direction. And one of the things we can do is look at the bottom and see, all right, this is the front on this side here. So the side that's got the chip sticker, that's the head side. Now, good news is as soon as I put it on the track, I got a blue light on the decoder. So that tells me that I've got power to it. And as soon as I moved it in the forward motion, it moved in the correct direction, and same with reverse. So good thing is now I've got that locomotive motor portion wired up correctly. Transition era. So transition would be the 1940s, I would think. 1940s, right? Is that when you're modeling? John, you said transition. I want to say the 40s is when the FT units started coming out. I know Cotton Belt got their FTs in 1945. All right. So we got that. So that's a step in the right direction. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, since my glue has dried, I'm going to take my wires and I'm going to go ahead and feed those through the little tubing conduits that I just glued in. So I'm going to try to do that real quick, and that's where them tweezers come into play as well. And sometimes they're easy to do, and sometimes they're a little more difficult, especially when you have a lot of wires that are in the way. All right, I got the first one started. I got to get the second one in there. Tim, you're exactly right when it comes to the ditch lights. They were typically just on the front of the locomotive. I think it's pretty much recently is when they started putting them on both the front and the back, which I can understand doing that, like maybe on a road switcher, like a local, but I don't. Some of these big units, like, you know, like a SD70 Ace, for example, why would they need ditch lights on the back? I mean, those are designed to go on the road for long distances, you know? Now, one of the things that, if you are wanting ditch lights on your locomotives, you need to research and figure out which railroads had the alternating grade logic crossing flashlight, you know, flashing, where they would alternate the flash. I know some people will put it on every single locomotive they got, and I'm like, you know, that railroad didn't have that, right? I remember someone putting it on one of the UP Heritage units, and I'm like, UP doesn't have that, except for the X Southern Pacific and X Chicago Northwestern units do have the alternating flashing ditch lights. All right, so these wires are not wanting to go in my tube that I just made for them. There it goes. It was just wanting to be stingy for a minute. I want to go about halfway. And y'all, I'm sorry I'm having to do this off camera, but it's a little tricky to try to do it when you got things in your way and you need all the lighting you can see, and so I apologize. Well, Lucian, welcome back, buddy. You just missed the test that I did not put on camera. Okay. Boy, these wires do not want to go through. All right, we're going to scratch that because they are not wanting to go through the tubing, so I'm just going to take the tubing out and save it for later. That perturbs me a little bit, but it is what it is, I guess. So I think it's just the wire gauge is just a little too thick. I'm going to go ahead and leave the front ones in there. Just in case if we ever do try to figure out how to get the proper ditch lights on here, he will have those in there for future purposes. But other than that, I think we're just going to go ahead and carry on. Okay. There we go. All right, so we've got the rail connections, we've got the motor connection, and we've got Soundtraxx Sunday members getting pretty chatty. I don't know if you heard the ding on my computer, but that's my Soundtraxx Sunday group. I don't even know if Rick is still here. I think he must have left. All right. All right, so like I said on here, and I know you can't see this, but my tweezer, where it's at right now, this is a rectangular contact, so that is the actual light connection. The oval contact is the common, and like I said, the common is only for LEDs. So if these were LEDs, then I would put a resistor on that and wire it as such. Since these are not LEDs and they're older incandescent bulbs or the grain bulbs, we're going to use the 1.5 volt. If Lucian ever decides to swap his LED or these incandescent bulbs for actual LEDs, then we would have to move them off the 1.5 volt to the to one of those contacts. All right, so now what I'm going to do here is take these two wires and twist them together and see if we can't get these soldered together as one wire. Like so. So that way I can get it soldered to that contact. I think what I'm going to have to go, since there's so many wires already, I am going to take another piece of wire, another small piece of communication wire. And I'm going to use it to dab some solder in this hard to reach area. There we go. And you could use a toothpick. I don't have any. I am out of toothpicks at the moment. So just want to use that as a close second. One of my wires decided to come up. All right, there we go. All right, so now we got the light commons installed. Please what, Lucian? What you talking about, buddy? Lynn, I will tell you, when it comes to soldering, good flux is the key. If you don't have good flux, you ain't going to have good soldering. And that is a fact. Hey, Shay, what's going on, bud? Whew. Man, I'll tell you, man, the smoke is legit. Yeah, see, Roy knows. But you just can't go get any type of flux. Like, you got to have legit good stuff. This stuff here, I have to keep refrigerated. And I can tell that if I do not keep it refrigerated, it does not work as well. And it's so nice that this is not smoking up on camera, man, because I'm telling you. All right, now I got to swap my stuff around so that way I can work on this side here. And soldering is also kind of like an art. You know, you don't rush art, you don't rush soldering. All right. Now we got the lights all wired up. Next thing I'm going to do is get some more tape. Hey, Thomas Grossi, welcome, bud. All right, so I'm just grabbing a little bit of tape because now I'm fixing to make this decoder not move. Since I've already soldered all of the main connections that I'm working with, I just want it to where it doesn't move. Already it knocks mine too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the solder doesn't make the smoke, it's the flux. Okay. So I still got my two spots right here. I don't know if you can We got speaker positive, speaker negative, and that's where my speaker wires are going to go. So now the next thing we're going to work on is the actual speakers. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this back around. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to mount 2 mini cubes in there, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to be positioning them. So, all right. So has anybody learned anything yet? Oh, typically when I do these live streams, it's more or less like, don't do what the train freak does. If Lucian is still here, I wonder if I'm freaking him out yet. So when you're putting in multiple speakers, because I'm doing 2, these are mini cubes and they've already got the built-in baffles. You can put them both on the radiator end if you wanted to. One of the things that I like to do, if possible, is put one on the radiator end and put one over here towards the front. Not necessarily in the cab, but close enough so that way the sound is resonating from both ends and the sound's acting like it comes from the middle of the locomotive. That's kind of like steam locomotives, for example. Like I got this cab forward, right? And the sound is where? In the tender. So when that locomotive's creeping by you, you should be getting that sound from the boiler or the firebox. But you're not getting it from... You should have no sound except for maybe some flange squeal from the tender itself. So, and it looks like my speakers can fit in. I just dropped one in there. So that's good to know that it will fit that way. And one of the things I did not grab was double-sided tape. Some people will take the speakers and they mount them right here on top of the worm gear on the truck. I mean, either way is fine, I guess. All right, so there is a right and a wrong on the speaker. So I need to know what positive is and I need to know what negative is. But I'm thinking for this installation, I am going to try to space mine out. So I need to make sure I have enough wire to do so. Scale sound speakers are the best. They make ones that fit in the front of steamers. John, have you seen the new Mini Cube 3s that Soundtraxx has came out with? Them things are insanely small. They're designed to fit in Z-scale locomotives. And if Heath is still here, yeah, I said it, Z. Not in, Z-scale. I actually have one. All right. So, let's see here. I don't know if you can see. Oh, hello. All right. So I'm holding the mini cube between my thumb and index finger. The speaker is over here. These are just extra different baffles that it comes with. And then just to get a side view of it, I mean, it's extremely small. So I haven't used the speaker yet. I've got a NW2 that is a Kato that I'm going to have to mill out quite a bit of the frame to get to basically get the, I don't know what you might call it, the chassis, I'm going to have to mill it out because it's built like an N-scale. It was one of Cato's first HO locomotives. And that one's going to be fun because they filled the whole inside of the shell with the chassis. So I'm thinking that's going to be about a good distance. So let's see here. That's my positive. That's my positive. So I think we're going to go to here. So when wiring up multiple speakers with a Soundtraxx decoder, you wire it in series. Now, some people do not know the difference between series and the difference of parallel. So I'm going to explain that. Parallel would be me taking the positive and basically running a positive to this speaker and then a positive from the same spot to this other speaker, and do the same with the negatives. Series is where I'm actually going to run a wire from the negative of one speaker to the positive of the next. And so that's what we want to do. All right, so get that on there. Go ahead and tin my wire while I'm at it. And like I said, I love using, communication wire. You could basically take a Cat5 cable and just strip, the 4 pairs out of it, and it makes great wire. It is solid strand, but it's pretty stiff, and they're designed not to not to go totally crazy, I guess. All right, so, and they don't, it does take a little bit to break them, like a lot of bending action to get them actually to break. So like I said, they work really well. All right, so I got that one in on that one. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm just getting my wire that's going from speaker to speaker in first. And there you have it. So voila. And then I can take it and bend it however I need to. All right, so now I need to figure out which one is the positive. So that side is the positive. And that means this side over here is the negative. All right, stripping my wires. We're going to tin it. Let's see here. And I would tell you, man, helping hands really helps. And Martin's got it right. And so because it's in parallel at 4 ohms, it will end up blowing the sound amplifier on the decoder. So that's why we wire in series. I accidentally trimmed that wire back a little too far. So that heat shrink tubing that I was going to use for the inside, I am going to put on there to isolate that. Ooh, that's warm. All right. It's one wire down. One more to go. Y'all, we're actually almost done here. The installation is just the physical part of it. The part that I got to do after the installation is research, find the proper horn, find the proper bell, proper prime mover. Even though we know it's a GE, GE's got multiple prime movers. And then once I find that information, then I can go and fix those CV values to make the proper sounds. Hey, Manny. Manny, the only thing you have missed is not really anything. Tim, it is a -9. It is a C44-9W. Hey, John. We got another John here from the Schuylkill River Valley. All right, let me see if I can find my double-sided tape. It should be over here on this table. And I found my double-sided tape. All right, so since we're talking about the prime mover, I am going to open this package up. And these are the instructions that come with Soundtraxx. They actually tell you how to wire it up and things like that. The only thing they don't show is like wiring the speaker in a series. But it's got your common CVs, like your address, acceleration, deceleration, default reset, blah, 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 blah. So the prime mover, the options come with a GE FDL-12, a GE FDL-16. Default is GE 7 FDL-16, and it looks like that's what y'all are saying this is, so that's a good thing I might not have to switch to. But it also has the GE Dual FDL-16, which I would assume that would be for the U50, the GE U50. I'm assuming. Then you've also got the GE Gevo G12, the GE 44-ton dual Caterpillar, GE Cummins switcher, and a GE Gevo G12 Tier 4. So the Tier 4s are included. Air horn, the default it has on here is a Nathan K3LA. I don't think that's right. I don't know. It could be. This one is a 3-chime horn on there, so not totally sure. But like I said, this would have been a Southern Pacific unit. I do not know if UP swapped out the horns, when they acquired those units. I'm just not 100% on that. That might be something Tim might know. Tim, did the Dash 7 not have the same prime mover as well? I want to say it was the U33. Anything that began with the U was the older prime movers. Tim says he's not a horn guy. Oh, man. Tim! Okay. I'm just going to bend these wires up without trying to pop the speaker out of the baffle like I just did. Oh, and one of my speakers the contact just broke off. That's not cool. Oh, that's not good. Well, that means I got to grab another speaker. It's always a good thing to have extras on hand. I'm going to blame that one on Heath, y'all. That's Heath's fault. Hey, Slider. Slider, I am an NCE guy. Nothing but success with NCE for me. I used to have Digitrax years ago. I had a DCS50. Programming with it is a pain. So, and that's just my opinion of it. I'm an NCE guy, but I mean, there's people out there that really, really like their Digitrax, and I don't knock it. If that's what you like, then use what you like. That's trash. All right. This one's got a little bit of copper exposed to it. So I'm just going to put a small little piece of shield on that. I haven't seen Lucian. I don't know if he's being quiet or if he got put on baby duty or what. But he was in here earlier. And for those who don't know, Lucian, this is his locomotive that I'm actually working on for him. No, he's still here. He's just being quiet. Crap. I just realized I soldered that one to the wrong contact. Well, let's take you off and move you to the right contact. There we go. So give me just a second, I'll show you. All right, there we go. All right, now let me put some double-sided tape back under this dude. And I think we'll be good to go. Good to go to stick him in there and solder him up and see if we got sound. All right. See, I want to drop you in there. And I want to take you and drop you in right. All right, so now we got the well. Perfect. Artie, I think that is the issue we all run into. It's going to cost us all a fortune. I mean, sound is not cheap, but anything that's realistic is not cheap. I swear, man, that smoke is just like going right up my nose. All right, got that one in. And I've got that one in. And then I got wires protruding on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and just snip those off. Yes, Rick, I am very well aware that they will make me sick. All right, so the installation is complete if I don't run into any issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the locomotive off. I'm afraid if I unplug the phone, we're going to see what happens. So we're going to try something, and if it doesn't work, then great. All All right, so I've unplugged my phone because I want to take this over to the layout so y'all can see it in action. So slider, that's actually what I'm fixing to do. I'm fixing to test run it. I do know for fact, and I'm going to try not to make y'all sick, so just please bear with me, because I don't want to put the top on it until, let me turn my soldering iron off and unplug it, because it's going through my tripod. I don't want to put the shell on it until I know for fact we are good to go. All right. There, that's a pretty interesting view, huh? I don't know if y'all can hear this or not, but we got sound. So good news is we do have sound. All right, let's see if I got a front headlight. Woo! I got a front headlight. How about that? Unfortunately, well, you can see it within the shell. So we have a front headlight. So, Tim, my mom wants you to pick what she buys me for my birthday for the layout. Okay. You just give me a wish list and I'll tell your mom to go get something. All right, now let's see if we got a reversing light. I can't see it from where I'm standing. All right, so I do not have a reversing light, and that's probably because I might have wired something up wrong because I was a dummy and did not pay attention as I was unhooking the wires. So that I know I need to fix. Can y'all hear that? I don't know if y'all can hear that or not. Drew, dude, you're going to give Tim's mom a coronary if you tell him to ask for brass. Man, I don't know anything of brass that's reasonable in price. All right, so Lynn said he heard a horn and a bell. I don't know if y'all can hear the prime mover or not. I'm going to go ahead and crank it up to full volume. All right, so I'm at full volume now. Oops. Ooh, and it moves. And of course, I found a dirty spot of track. So, Lucia, man, you ain't even heard it with the shell on. All right, so now I'm going to have to take this back and see if I can't figure out what's going on with that rear light. And it's probably because I wired something up backwards. If I was a betting man, which I used to be, but not much of one anymore, moving the camera so y'all don't get sick. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and plug the phone back in. There we go. So I gotta say, I really thank Heath for this idea. Because I had a whole bunch of these old cell phones hanging around, and he told me about this app called Droid Cam. And so Droid Cam allows you to take the video feed off of a old cell phone, and you can sync it to your computer through a wireless connection. So I'm actually using a cell phone as a camera, a wireless camera at that. All right. So unfortunately, now I'm gonna have to take off this one strip of tape, but that's okay. Let's see. Got to get that soldering iron back on too. So I'm pretty sure what happened was I've got two of the positives. Well, Tim, if you haven't noticed about Heath's head, he doesn't have much hair on there to keep it all in, so it just evaporates out. So you can thank him all you want. It won't hold because it just evaporates. Oh, what did I miss, Lynn? You said something about I know you showed me those two cotton belt -8s. But speaking on brass, there's only one brass locomotive that I would ever consider getting. And I see them on eBay all the time. I'm just, like I said, I don't want to pay for it right now. And that is the Cotton Belt L1 Northern, or also known as a Southern Pacific GS8. The GS8 was basically a locomotive that was used in commuter service out west, and they were Cotton Belt 484 Northerns. And they were built, or some of them, I think it was the last 5, was built during World War II in my hometown. And there's still one there today. And Westside Models was the only company that made those. And no other manufacturer would ever consider making them. And I guess it's because it would be like a cotton belt or nothing else, you know. And I'm like, really? You know, I don't know why it would matter, but it would be one that I would probably own, paint up, decal as the Cotton Belt 819, which, like I said, is the only one still not scrapped. The city of Pine Bluff owns it, and the last year that Southern Pacific allowed it to be driven was in '95. I was, let's see, I was like 9. I was either 8 or 9 at that time, and I actually got to ride it in one of the passenger cars. And nobody knew at the time that that was going to be the last time that locomotive was ever going to run. So that would be the only reason why I would get a brass, is just because of that locomotive. All right, so Well, it's nice that I had the front headlights right. Yeah, John, I was born in 86. So I think you said you were either born within a 4-year span of that. 2 years before or 2 years after. I think I remember you saying that. She was more thinking of a tool that I could use on any layout I build. A tool. Well, that's a good one. Because I've got a lot of tools, and none of my tools are really cheap. I would probably say take that back. I would say probably the best tool if you're going to build a layout, whether you're building it flat or with a grade, would be a digital level. That's what I would lean on. All right, I got the second headlight. I rewired it, so now it's going to be strapping this back down and a moment of truth. All right. Rick, I didn't think trees. Well, take that back. I forgot all about the sap. So I didn't think a tree bled, but I totally forgot about the sap. So that makes sense. All right, stop acting up. All right, we're going to try this again, y'all. And here I go making y'all sick again. I know it. Let's change. See if we can change the angle up. How do I want to do this? Let's go this way. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of a weird look. It's like y'all are looking at it upside down. Huh. All right, let's scratch that. I'll move it back where it was. I was going to try to give y'all a different view, but I guess not. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? Oops. All right. Moment of truth. Do we have a headlight? Yes, we have a headlight. Do we have a backup light? Can't tell. I got one backup light. I got one light not working. Very well could be a bad bulb because both of the headlights are working, but when I go in reverse direction, it's the bottom bulb is not working. So, Lucian, do you know if you had a bulb not working before you handed this thing to me? Well, I soldered the wires together, so I don't think wiggling a wire is gonna help with the bulb. But yeah, these are incandescent bulbs. These are those little grain bulbs. I mean, good news is it's working. You just got... Okay, so you said they were all working. Okay. Well, then I'm going to bring it back over here and see if I can't get it figured out. The lighting on these locomotives has always been my kryptonite. So I got one bulb that works, one bulb that does not. I mean, those are soldered directly together. And those are soldered directly together. Now, I'm curious if I could use... Does anybody know if you could use a 9-volt battery on an incandescent bulb? I don't know if that would... I think that would burn it out, right? Because it would only use a 1.5. Maybe a AA? All right, Anthony, take care, bud. I think I could use a AA battery. That's 1.5 volts. All right. Yeah, those are soldered together. I see both of the copper on that one too. Drew Dude, they are the standard incandescent bulbs that Athearn uses. Two AA's or a single A? All right, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to take these two back out. I'm going to leave them soldered together. All right, and I took those two out. I mean, yeah, they are connected, so like I just had to pull it off hard to get it to disconnect. All right. I know Roy is an electronics guy, so I'm going to trust his judgment on that one. Solder. There we go. All right, so now I got to find the battery. Got one in there, but I ain't going to pull that one out. All right, y'all, I'm a step away. I will be right back. All right, so when all else fails, I got a AA here. I got a couple of AA's. Oh, 1.5 volts. So, yeah, it should be fine. All right. So, all right. No light with that. So, that's okay. So, now I'm going to take this one that's soldered together. No light. If I take this other one here, I get a light on the top. No light on the bottom. So, yeah, dude, I think you do have a bad bulb. No, Artie, I did not go to 7-Eleven to get batteries. We don't even have a 7-Eleven here. It's kind of a shame. Oh. All right, so let's see if we can figure out which one goes to which. We got 4 wires here, right? So I'm going to put this one here on the negative terminal, and we're going to try each 3 wires. And I'm not getting anything with that one. Nothing with that one. And the last wire. All right, top headlight works. So I'm going to put a knot in this one here. I'm going to put a double knot. Rick, no, you cannot. Because they use different voltages. Now, I'm sure if you had some other type of electronics in there, you probably could. But the quick answer to that is no cigar. All right, let's see if I can get the bottom one to work now. Nothing. All right, I'm going to swap the wire polarities. and nothing. So that does confirm we do have a bad bulb. So now here's the kicker. If it's anything that I would have done, it would have blown both bulbs, not just one. Rory, you're exactly right. So, and that's why on the decoders that Soundtraxx makes, they divide the commons. Now, you still have to use a resistor. They recommend a 1000 ohm resistor, but I do want to say they are 3-volt bulbs. And I know, so Lucian actually knows Mr. Craig as well. And I want to say Craig's got spare bulbs somewhere. So, I mean, Lucian, here's the main thing. It's your backup lights. So if you don't want to get these fixed right away, that's fine. You still got both of the headlights do operate. So I'm going to go ahead and wire these in. I'm going to wire these two here. Let's see here. Yeah. So, I mean, bulbs just go out after a while. Yeah, and Drew, you're exactly right. I mean, the lifespan on these bulbs is pretty much junk. I mean, they are grain incandescents. I think Lynn McCurdy is missing the TV show Cops. All right, I'm going to go ahead and solder these back together. All right. Ah. All right. All right, so we're just going to get this bad boy. Drew dudes, no, they do not, and that's why they recommend you to get 1000 ohm resistors for the LEDs. With the incandescent bulbs, you do not have to have a resistor. That's when they have a separate. Lucian, I'm already ahead of you there, bud. But it's okay. We can always replace it later. It's no big deal. Because in order to get it out, you're going to have to. They've got them glued in with that other bulb, so you might as well just replace them both at the same time. I mean, you really have no other way around it. All right, so as I'm putting this back on, I'm just making sure that I don't have any wires in the way, which I've got one. And this is where, if you can use that conduit thing like I was showing earlier, it really helps. Because then you got all your wires already tucked up out of the way. Here we go. So we got our locomotive back together. Now I guess the next step would be putting in the couplers and coupler boxes. All right. Like I told Lucian, I said this is one that someone definitely has messed with before because one of the screws is not the original screw. So this model here, they put ditch lights on it, but they put them in the wrong spot. I mean, the absolute wrong spot. The ditch lights are supposed to be above the, where the walkway is. And they put them below the walkway, but right above the plow, and that's not prototypical. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's an older Athearn model, probably from the early 2000s. Very possible that it could be older than that. Let's see if I can find my screwdriver. And see, y'all, I'm one of those typical modelers that you just can't find your tools when you're looking for them. And I don't know why that is. I found a flat. I'll make the flat work. One screw in. Yes, Drew, this is a C44-9W. And as soon as I get the screw in, I'll show you exactly what I mean by the ditch lights being in the wrong spot. And I'm not a fan of that screw. There we go. Okay. All right. It's going to be a little blurry, but we're going to try this the best we can. All right. So if you look, right here and right there. That's the imitation ditch lights that they put on this model. The ditch lights are actually supposed to be up here and up here. They're supposed to be on top of the platform per the prototype. And I looked at both the pictures of it in bloody nose paint and of course the patched paint and now the yellow and gray paint. And it's totally not right. All right. So now let's see if we can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my cab forward up and I'm going to disconnect some of the cars attached to it. So that way I can get this thing closer to the microphone. Y'all can hear this bad boy a lot better. So select loco 4104. All right, I'm gonna have to hold this thing upside down, I guess. All right, there goes my cab forward. Oh, my phone is flying out. All right, sorry, y'all. I tried. Let me take it out of the stand and flip it over. All right, y'all gonna get a little sick. There we go. All right. Now, let's see here if I can do this. Let's raise her up. All right, turn the sound off of that guy. All right, we're going to stick the microphone right up here to where y'all can hear this bad boy very well. All right, so Drew, this Google UP, or not UP, UP 9571. And because this is actually an SP model, so if you go to, let's see, select Loco 3, enter, and I'm going to mute that real quick. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up a tab, and we're going to do a screen share, because I want y'all to see what the prototype's supposed to look like. RR picture, railroadpicturesarchive.net. All right, so that way you can see where I'm going. I'm going to go ahead and share this. Tab. Oh, no, I can't. I'll have to wait till I get the picture up first. Dadgummit. I forgot about that. Let's see here. We want UP, and that is 9571. UP 9571. All right. All right, I'm fixing to share this with you so you can see this. All right. So this is the locomotive in the original paint when they patched it. And if you look, your ditch lights are up here at the top of the steps on this locomotive. The picture or the website that I use already is rrpicturearchives.net because it will tell you that UP 9571 was a patched SP locomotive. And then on the main page, it'll actually tell you what the original SP locomotive or the original number was. So, like I said, this locomotive here would have had the ditch lights above or on the top of the walking platform, not below it and above the plow like UP did. Now, that's not to say that that's not a correct model for UP. It's just not a correct model for that specific road number. So I use this website religiously. And of course, you can always Google other sites up as well. And I'm going to pull this one up in the UP Paint if I can find a good image. Oh, yeah, that's a very good image. Okay. So let me share this one with you. And we'll do a share on this, share screen. Here we go. So this is it in its full UP Paint. Why it's got a second partial shield here, I don't know. And let's make that bigger so that way y'all can see it better. But you can see the ditch lights are still at the top where the walking platform is. So, yeah, like I said, I use this site religiously, and this will help you determine, you know, if it's prototypical or not. Now, if you're not a prototype person or a rivet counter, like I'm not necessarily a rivet counter per se. But I want to try to be as close as possible. You know, I'm not going to go and count the actual number of rivets, you know, on that locomotive, but I do want to be fairly close. And let me see if I can pull this one back up, and I'll give you all those links as well. And copy and paste. All right, so there's that. Now let's get some sound in this locomotive so that way y'all can hear it. And I'm going to kill the screen share. And I'm going to see if I can't raise my camera up a little higher so that way y'all can see it a little better. There we go. And of course, my microphone's wanting to hide it. All right, can y'all hear that very well? I'm going to go ahead and do a shutdown because I want y'all to hear the startup on it. It takes a minute for it to shut down. All right, so this would be the locomotive not being powered, so we want to power it up. All right, so let's get our bell, horn, short horn, gray crossing, yeah, I'm hitting some dirty track. But she moves. I haven't cleaned my track in a good minute. I mean, look at that. dirty track. Come on now. Don't be that ridiculous. I'm going to wait till it finishes. All right. And of course, because I'm moving it at such a slow pace. Come on. There we go. It would help if I clean my track every once in a while, I'm sure. But yes, it does work. There. Well. Of course, every time it wants to hit the dirty track, then it wants to die. But so there you got it. Lucian. I guess the only thing I need to do now is just program the rest of it, and I'm not going to do that tonight because that's going to take a while. And I've already been at this for, 2 hours now. How about that? All right, so let's go ahead and shut her down. All right. Yeah, Artie, I think it needs to go back to the engine service track for some refuel. Yeah, it wanted to keep dying, so oh man. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish that would have went just a little smoother than it did, but sometimes things happen, and even the professionals run into issues like that. So Slider, I am actually a licensed installer / distributor for Soundtraxx. So you can actually get the decoders through me if you wanted to. I do have some in stock. I do not have a big inventory because mostly I'm not into the retail portion of it. I more or less order what I need to do locomotive installs, but sometimes I do have some stock on hand. So if that is something that you are interested in using Soundtraxx, you're more than welcome to contact me. Just email me and I can work something out with you on that. So, yeah, Artie, I run into things all the time. And I'm human. I don't consider myself a professional, but I definitely don't consider myself a novice. I am factory trained by Soundtraxx. I was factory trained back in 2017. I've got a certificate at, I got one put up, but I have a copy of it at Arkansas Traveler Hobbies. Lucian can verify that my certificate from Soundtraxx is hanging up in that that hobby shop, which is actually an old depot, an old Missouri Pacific depot. So looks like we still got 19 people here, and man, the chat must be very quiet for 19 people. Drew, that's a good question. Y'all hear all that radio chatter? I shut the locomotive off, but if it's still on the track and it's still getting power, you're going to get all that radio chatter. Lynn, if I was to say something, I'm sure you're going to type the word something in chat because that is a smart-ass thing that I typically do. So, and Roy's still here, so that's awesome. So, yeah, Drew, man, I really do not know the answer to that question. I could ask George if you want me to. I do have a couple of locomotives myself that have Tsunami 1s that I do want to replace with Tsunami 2s. Marty is listening in. His bench work is in the works. Roy. Nothing. There we go. That's funny. Wah, wah, wah. And see, I told you would say it, and you did it anyways. How about that? So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, that's just pretty much, the gist of doing an install. And it really doesn't matter the model. Just if the Soundtraxx thing is the route you want to go, I suggest do some research. I'm going to show, let's see here. I'm just going to kind of show you some things that will help. I don't know if y'all have ever been to their website or not. So I'm going to show you part of their website. Share. Okay. If you go to this, I'm going to make this bigger so that way y'all can see it. Here we go. If you go to this reference page, they have a thing called Decoder Selector. And in here, you put what scale you're doing. So for me, I'm HO. And then they have like all the different models, right? And so like, let's say Athearn, for example. And this is a ready to roll diesel. And we did the -9 44 CWs. They tell you what part number to grab. If you want to go the economy route, this is their value line decoder. It doesn't come with all the features, but it's okay. I've got one locomotive with it that I will be yanking out and putting Tsunami2 in. But it also tells you what speakers. So like the speaker for this locomotive, they actually wanted me to use the 23 millimeter square mega bass speaker. But talking to George's like you can get more sound if you use 2 mini cubes. And there was one model of his that he actually ended up putting in 4 mini cubes, that baffles me. So Roy Heltham said, fair warning, it's going to be the longest video and I will make every mistake possible. So Steel Road, welcome, bud. He says he is at work, so he will catch up on this later. All right. Now, I will tell you, so I did run into this one Athearn Ready to Roll. It was like the first gen Ready to Roll. It was right before right after they went from the blue box, right? And gorgeous locomotive. It was a Jeep, I think it was a Jeep 38-2, Jeep 40, somewhere in that area. Maybe a Jeep 35. But it was a HLCX. So it was a Helm leasing locomotive. And he only wanted DCC with lights. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I put in a decoder. I got the lights to work, but the motor wouldn't move. Brand new Digitrax decoder. It was one of these that I just took out of Lucian's. One of these bad boys. And I wired it up. It didn't work. I was like, what the heck? So I took that decoder out, popped in another one. Same thing. It just would not move. And I do not understand why it wouldn't move. So I took the decoder out. I wired it up like I was going to wire it for DC. Took a 9-volt battery. Bam. It works. No problem. Turn the battery around on the other side. The wheels run the opposite direction. So I know the motor's not bad. So did I have a possibility of 2 bad decoders? This was about the time that I did some installs for Steve Anderson. And for those who don't know who Steve Anderson is, that's a Steve 87th PSAP or PSAP. He sent me some locomotives that he wanted some Tsunami2 installed in. And one of the locomotives, it was an old Walthers. It was either a Walthers or Atlas. I can't remember exactly which one. But it was one of the PCB boards where it had the jumper that you could go from DC to DCC mode. So I asked Steve if he wanted that board back. He said no. So I wired that board to that locomotive, wired it up. I put the jumper in DCC. It would not work. And this is not a Digitrax decoder. It did not work. And I actually took it up to the hobby shop that has a double track, and they got one track set for DC, the other track set for DCC. Same NCE system that I use, NCE. So I put the jumper in DCC mode, put it on the DCC track. I factory reset that DCC back to address 3. It would not move. It would not move at all. And then once I took the jumper out of DCC and moved it to DC and put it on the other track, which is DC, son of a gun worked. I was like, what the heck? So I ended up just talking to the customer on that one. Said, dude, I don't know what the deal is with this one, but I guess the motor does not like a digital thing for some reason. So, but yeah, that's just a weird. And that could be the case, Drew. With the higher voltage kick, and I don't know. He didn't want sound in that one. It was just he wanted just DCC. He wanted as a secondary unit. He only wants like sound in some of his. I'm one of those. I want it in all. Like I've got a ABBA set of F units. Dude, when you hear all 4 of them like kick on together, it's just like a wild rumble. So a 1x4 8 feet long is $7. That's actually coming down. 1x4x8s or 8-foot 1x4s. I remember they were at $9 at one point. So it's starting to come down, but yeah, it's still pretty expensive. Like I said, if you got a table saw and a good one at that, you could go buy a 2x4 that's 8 feet long and rip it in half and end up with 2 1x4s at 8 feet length. And I've done a lot of that. And it's actually a little cheaper on the pocketbook if you do it that way. But that requires you having a table saw, because Home Depot and Lowe's is not going to do that for you. So you got to do that one on your own. They will be more than glad to take a sheet of plywood and rip it for you if that's what you want to do, and still pay for the full price of the plywood, but they will not take a board and rip it. So yeah, plywood's it's still expensive too, Artie. The price has come back down some, but it's still pretty expensive. So, anybody have any questions as far as like the install or anything like that? Because I am going to have to wrap it up here pretty soon. I just wanted to share with y'all doing a customer install. I do have another locomotive that I plan on doing an install on, but I'm actually going to make a video of it instead of doing it live. I did the Dash 9 live because there is quite a few Dash 9 videos out there. The next one that I'm going to be doing is a customer's MP15. What track do I use? I use all types of track. My flex track is mostly Atlas. I use both 100 and I use 83. I use 100 for the main lines, 83 for industrial spurs. Possibly pretty much like where there would be less maintained track, I use 83. Yeah, Marty, N-scale is a little tougher. If you're going to do N-scale, I would prefer you to do it in a drop-in decoder, not a solder one. But some of my turnouts, I've got Atlas turnouts, I've got Pico turnouts, and I've got a few Walders and Shinohara turnouts. Do I do installs in DD40AXs? Yes, I do. I do an install in anything that's HO. In scale, it depends. It depends on how much room I've got to work with in there. Absolutely, Artie. You when you get moved over to the U.S. and you want to take a trip to Arkansas, um, yeah, more than welcome. I would not mind helping you out some. So I do this more or less for fun, kind of as a side gig. You know, replacing split gears. The best bet, Lynn, on replacing split gears, if the gears are on the axle, replace the whole axle. If the gear is within the truck mechanism itself, I think you just might as well pop the gear out and pop a new one in. But if it's the gear that's on the axle, you got to replace the whole axle. I actually ended up just buying some of those. I don't know what I did with them. Oh, right here. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, if I can get it to read right. Locomotive wheel assembly, 40-inch. I get 6 per pack. Why they send me 6, I don't know. So I've got 2 locomotives that's got busted wheels. I bought them used. So I've got 2 packs. And that'll actually allow me to do 3 locomotives. And they were 20 bucks each. South Carolina's a little farther than what you think, Artie. About 16, 17-hour drive, depending on what part of South Carolina. Lucian, you don't owe me anything for running into trouble, bud. Bentonville. Tim, are you talking about Bentonville, Arkansas? Bentonville. Bentonville ain't that far from me. Yeah, 40 and 42s are common. So I got the 40s for Alco RS3s. So that's why I got the 40s. But I think the prices are the same on both. Okay, Lynn, that's fine. You can message me about that. Drew, I think there's 5 different sizes on the wheels. I think it might be 4. So, Slaughter, you're up in Fayetteville. That's cool. So I'm actually just right outside of Little Rock. I'm in Cabot. And the hobby shops that are in this area, you got one down in Jacksonville, and you've got one up in Bald Knob, which Bald Knob's the one that I'm associated with. Yeah, Marty, I am about a 19-hour drive from you, but if you're driving towards me, I think you're either losing 1 or 2 hours. I can't remember if you are Pacific or Mountain Time. If you are Pacific Time, you're losing 2 hours. Lucian, just give me a call, bud, and we'll work that out. John, I have been at El Dorado a few times. The high school that I went to, El Dorado, was in our conference. I have literally been all over the whole state of Arkansas, no doubt. Every single corner, at least one part. I used to own a company that would do computer repair for small businesses that could not afford to hire their own IT personnel. And so I have been literally all over the state. Not that many towns that I have not been in. El Dorado, that's a big oil country. That's like Murphy, USA. Oil's down that way, if I'm not mistaken. Spartanburg, South Carolina, not far from the Tennessee. I have to change gears on one of my Aussie engines that I have. Is Spartanburg, is that close to Gatlinburg? I think it's Gatlinburg. I know it takes me 8 hours to get to Knoxville. So, Benton? There's a Benton. Well, you got a Benton, Arkansas, and a Bentonville, Arkansas. Bentonville, Arkansas has a really good train show in February every year. I went to it back this past February. It was really good. I got a lot of good deals out of that train show. Probably one of the best ones I've been to. So, yeah, I figured John, if you were flying to El Dorado, that's really the only commodity that's pretty much there. Now, the Rock Island used to be down in El Dorado. They were big in El Dorado. There was a line that used to go from Little Rock down to, I want to say Ruston, Louisiana. But they serviced a few different oil, small oil companies there. So yeah, anything you got that's DCC ready, man, good stuff to put decoders in. So some of the ones that I plan on putting decoders in, let's see here. I've got two of these. These are custom painted, and these are like old school Atlas with the Kato drives and stuff. So these are like first gen Katos. All right, so this is called an RSD5. It's an Alco, and it is long hood forward, so that's the front side of it. I've got two of these that I plan on putting sound in. Then I've got two of these, and these are Atlases. No, these are Athearns. Ready to roll. These are Alco RS3s. So I am going to put sound in those as well. Let's see. What else do I got in here? I've got a switcher that's all torn apart. This is a Proto 2000. I don't have the shell on it, but I'll show you the shell because I plan on repainting it too to a railroad that no one makes a paint scheme for. But I ended up getting this B&O switcher 12900, and so yeah, this one's going to be fun to put a decoder in. But there's a little piece of weight here that I can unscrew that'll come off. So I just got that taken apart. The only problem is the grab irons are not the right ones. It has the switcher 900 grab irons. So what's going to be fun is I got some stanchions to do that one. All right, so what about Benton, Arkansas? Benton's not far from me. I'm actually the opposite side of Little Rock from Benton. Oh, let's see here. This one I ended up picking up at a train show. And I think this one's going to be a fun one to put sound in. But this is a Stewart. So the last train show, I actually recorded everything on day one. I did not record anything on day two. So this was a locomotive that I ended up getting on day two because he did not have them for day one. But here we go. It's a VO 1000. And it's DC. And it's a Stewart. And it actually has the interiors on the inside, and it's even got the brake wheel on the inside. I don't know if you can see the brake wheel right just inside that window or not. So I plan on putting sound in that one as well. But that's going to be later. Until I get the yard, I don't really need a yard locomotive. And then I got challenged to do this one. This one's going to get repainted to the Cotton Belt yellow and gray scheme. which not a lot of people know about that paint scheme. But this is that Kato I was talking about. It's an NW2, so this is a C-board that's going to get repainted to a cotton belt. This one actually I got for $50, so I didn't think that was a bad buy. But yeah, I don't know if I can pull the shell off. I don't think I can. If I could get the shell off, I will show you what kind of nightmare. Well, can I get the British decoders? I don't know if Soundtraxx makes anything British exactly. They do have a decoder that's called Baldwin and Others. So it might be classified under Others. Artie, what I would recommend you do is call Soundtraxx and see what, and talk to George. George is the man, so talk to him about that one. And all right, last one that I'm going to show you that I'm going to do an install on, and then I'm going to hop off. I think this one's going to be fun. Oh, I just dropped something. Dadgummit. And I'm curious if this one's even got a smoke thing in it or not. All right, here we go. The Doodle Bug. I mean, tell me that wouldn't be a cool locomotive to put sound in. I'm wondering if it's got smoke fluid, though. A smoke unit in it, which I know Soundtraxx does not really work with smoke units. But I'm thinking that would be a fun locomotive to work on. So, but yeah, I do have a Doodle Bug. So, Lucian, you are welcome, my friend. I wanted to go ahead and get yours done. It was either I worked on yours or I could have worked on an ON30. So, I could have worked on either one of them. Because I do have an ON30. I think it's an American or a 10-wheeler. I can't remember. It might be a consolidation. Narrow gauge ON30 that needs sound put in it too. And I've also got an ON30 Shay that needs sound as well. An S4. I do not have an S4. I got an S3. I don't know if anybody makes an S4. So, lumber prices have been dropping a lot in Southern California. Like I said, yeah, they've been dropping here too. So, all right, y'all. This has been for 2.5 hours. So, like I said, I just wanted to share with y'all on me doing an installation live, and so that way if I did make mistakes, y'all can see that, hey, I'm completely human and I make mistakes, and sometimes you just got to figure them out. So other than that, I'm going to let y'all have at it. Wish y'all a great week. Be safe out there. And also, I want to say thank you to all of my Patreon members. That support does go the extra mile. And other than that, be safe out there. Happy railroading.